It's so easy to run a business. All you need is some product or service and a team and the sheer arrogance to market your product like it's some never thought about innovation that can solve the world's most pressing problems. Plus, you get bonus points if you throw in a few bogus statistics and add buzzwords like disrupt or innovate in your marketing campaigns. However, if it were as simple as this, I am pretty sure everyone would be in a corner office at a Fortune 500 company, and nobody would be performing an enema on a 102-year-old patient at 2 a.m. So, what makes some businesses succeed and others fail? Is it the CEO's dashing good looks, lousy product market fit, poor money management skills, or random bad luck? Well, I can't claim to know all the answers, but I'll be sharing a conversation I had with a colleague who is no stranger to failure in business and extracting some insights from this discussion. I'm a newbie entrepreneur, and I can't say that I know what I'm doing. So, instead of attempting to huff and puff and throw my weight around, I'd much rather dedicate my time to learning. I refuse to walk around with an prideful aura of importance while promoting businesses or products that don't make any financial sense or add value to my clients. Unfortunately, most nurses prefer to focus on doing anything for clout, and relish parading themselves as business owners instead of becoming real bosses. One of my colleagues is an older ICU nurse who has 5 businesses. Yes, 5 separate enterprises. That's some insane work rate. Did I mention that he still has his job as a bedside nurse in California? Okay, I just had to be sure. As soon as I heard this, my typical inquisitive self went straight into interview mode because I had to find a way to understand why a bedside nurse would choose to run so many businesses. Like, isn't nursing already complicated enough? Do you happen to have a magic wand that stops time? I was especially intrigued because when I decided to start 4 S corporations in 2018, it didn't take me long to realize that I was entirely out of my depth. To put it mildly, yeah, I failed miserably. And each one of these businesses became a tax liability that earned 0 income. What made things even worse, and to put the proverbial nail in my financial coffin, was finding out that the lawyer and CPA that I hired were low-budget versions of Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. Eventually, keeping up with the bookkeeping requirements for my various ventures became entirely too expensive. I finally got the dreaded message from the IRS informing me of my penalty for failing to file my yearly returns. If you're wondering what the businesses were, they included a real estate enterprise in Texas, an online art store, a fitness training company, and a t-shirt printing company. Talk about diversity, huh? I literally took the concept of multiple income streams and stretched it to its limits. Unfortunately, although these ideas, they weren't bad themselves, I could not find a way to turn them into revenue-generating entities. As our conversation progressed, he asked me how my business was going. Well, they weren't looking too good. However, being a master in the art of deflection, I had to steer the conversation towards him. Besides, he really only wanted to talk about himself anyway, and I honestly don't mind learning something new. So, I proceeded to ask him why he still kept his job as a bedside nurse. I also inquired about why he failed to generate meaningful revenue from all his businesses and if there was any reason behind staying with 5 ventures that weren't paying him a salary. I know it sounds a bit less like a conversation and more like a session on I'm poor, but I really enjoy diving deep into the facts. especially because it seemed to me that he was hustling backwards. One of the many things that I wanted to know was if he had any minority certifications, since his companies qualified to be designated as Black-owned businesses. He looked at me puzzled and asked why I didn't tell him about any of this earlier. Like it's my responsibility to help you run a successful business. I'm just finding this out myself. And this was someone who I believe to be running 5 revenue-generating enterprises. If anybody should be handing out master classes, it should have been him. After all, I'm a newbie entrepreneur. But that's what happens when you do your homework. I pay decent money for coaching sessions, so I always make well-informed moves. And believe me, the game ain't free, but I'm always willing to drop some hints for anybody that's ready to listen. Minority business certifications are a major plus because they allow you unique access to benefits such as government grants and improved networking opportunities. In a system where it's much harder to succeed when you have minority status, this simple initiative can undoubtedly give you an edge. But don't try to do too much. My second question was, are your companies generating revenue? He said that they can sustain themselves. However, they are still not earning enough money to pay him a salary as an owner. Maybe it's just me, but isn't the point of owning a business to make sufficient profit to enable you to survive and thrive? But there's no way all 5 businesses don't pay him a salary to lead the bedside, right? He claimed that the little money they generate cannot cover his lifestyle. Also, because he had 2 ongoing real estate projects in another country. So quitting the healthcare system was unfeasible at the time. He had purchased land and was building hotels for tourists on them. His goal was to generate an estimated income of $2,000 per month. However, the project hadn't quite kicked off yet. Now, to me, that didn't sound right. But what do I know? A lot of his stories reminded me of my first unguided foray into entrepreneurship. I had multiple great ideas and several works in progress. However, I never seemed to have enough time to focus on just one and see it through completion. So, everything remained stagnant. An inability to focus is one of the biggest problems we newbie entrepreneurs face. Riding on the wave of our multiple ideas and dreams of million-dollar status, we want to pursue every thought that pops in our minds and literally turn it into a business. That was precisely what was happening with my friend here. Despite the strong urge to distill our energy into multiple directions, we can only make a steady profit when we focus on just a few things at a time. Don't try and do too much. The goal is to build a thriving, revenue-generating business, not just to look busy. You got to start with why. Next, I asked, why was he still working as a bedside nurse? His first excuse was the fear of the unknown. He's afraid what could happen if things go sideways. Now think about this. The fear of the unknown. So why start a business when you're not even convinced? Why invest so much time, money, and energy into so many projects? What was he hoping to achieve? It's essential that you start with why before you take any strides in a new direction. Also, take some time to examine your self-limiting beliefs. More than anything, these 2 things can literally hold you back from succeeding as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is all about taking calculated risk. You can't afford not to know your motivation for pursuing this path, and there's no room for second guessing once you yourself have begun. You've got to have a proper marketing strategy. His other excuse was that he was like cash strapped. He was using all his extra funds to invest in equipment for his business, like a generator and boost for a major event in Texas. Now, if these businesses were truly self-sustaining, as he claimed, then this shouldn't be the case. Ideally, he is meant to have a budget with allocations for running costs, equipment, and marketing. I talk about marketing because it's highly critical if you intend to generate more revenue. I asked about his marketing strategy, and he gave me a dumbfounded look before mumbling some vague response about trying to reach a niche market. What niche? Who is your audience, bro? What demographic are you looking to reach? He couldn't answer none of my questions. Listen, such non-specific answers are a major red flag for any business. There's this thing that anyone intending to start a business should definitely have heard about. It's called a SWOT analysis. You must do a thorough study and build an effective marketing strategy. It's practically impossible to survive without this. I felt so terrible for my colleague because no one should be thinking of investing not a single dime into a business idea when they haven't thought it out properly. Hell, even an elevator pitch would suffice, and he was clueless. Another thing he said was that he was using bedside nursing to stay up to date. Up to date on what exactly? Your guess is as good as mine. Anyone with the slightest idea about their line of work would not need any assistance staying up to date. And as far as I know, there's absolutely no correlation between real estate land sales and bedside nursing. Focus on building, not a clout. Finally, I asked if he could get business loans. And he told me, yes, he was qualified, but the interest rates were between 8 and 10%, and he won't be able to pay them back. So clearly, he was all talk, and his businesses weren't generating enough revenue. Unfortunately, there is no solid plan or business structure, just a need to chase clout. To the unsuspecting person, well, he would appear to have his house in order. However, I've been around the block long enough to know when somebody is trying to fleece me. I'm not yet where I want to be, but I've definitely earned my stripes. I've had to clear off a mountain of debt and accumulate a box full of red snapback trucker hats to prove it too. Everybody loves to be on the cover of magazines and promote sponsored blog posts with bogus or inflated financial reports. Apparently, no one seems to want to put in the actual work to build a strong and lasting business. Now, if you're going to survive and thrive in today's harsh environment, you've got to be the part, not just look it. Don't be all talk. Focus on building your brand and growing at a steady pace. There's no need to put yourself under undue pressure or attempt to punch above your weight. Building a solid business is a marathon, not a sprint. That's why in future videos, we'll continue laying the building blocks required for your future success. All you need to do is subscribe and turn on post notifications. Thank you for joining Stronger Nurse Universe. This is Captain Amazing here for another awesome episode, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah! Bye.